You minimize the one that's straight.
Yeah. I'll cite that out with you this level.
I think I got you.
There we go.
Get no more TVs. Yeah. Oh, is it? Oh.
Yeah, they're separate.
All right, never mind now. Yeah. Yes.
They have 3 weeks. I never knew what that.
Is Ryan out there?
David, how are you? How are you? That's way back to here. If it's not true, but I can hear it.
How are you doing?
Bill, I usually finish. It's better than you're working. Back in the work. Back in the work.
How's that helping?
Service.
Yeah. All the fine details. That would be something.
Well, I've looked at it. And just in case.
Yeah, I do.
No, I had to do it. It's kind of. I get people upset. Yes, my best year is the other year.
So you want to do it?
Yeah, I'm full. Yeah, I just. Yeah. And they make it look. Oh, yes, and it makes sure. Yeah. So, degree into the road. Yeah. By changing. Well.
Okay, it's a sunny March 4th day, 2024. 5:45 p.m. We're going to call this Finance Committee meeting to order. Present are council members Lang, Cost, Chu, Hauser, and Marmee. First item, the unappropriated balance is at $783,177. And the budget stabilization fund is at $1,619,238. First item on the agenda is an ordinance amending section 890.13A of the codified ordinances of the city of Newark, Ohio, providing for the allocation of income tax revenues.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. As you're aware, for many years now, the split of the general fund has been an 86-14, 14% being appropriated towards capital improvements, expenses. The fact of the matter is, the costs for equipment, fire trucks, squads, police cars, everything is exponentially went up. As a matter of fact, it's taking longer to get that product in. It's the longest time we've seen in the last 12 years. And prices continually jump. So what I'm asking for is an amendment of the capital improvements budget to be an 85-15 split. On the paperwork there, that on this year's revenues, it would approximately raise an additional $200,000. Also, what I provided you up there was a list of expenses out of capital improvements. And what you're not seeing in there is some of the things that we're waiting to come in on, that some of which has been ordered almost a year ago. But, so we're just asking for a 1% change in that split.
Questions or discussion? Charles,
Will that $200,000 split be then split both ways between police and fire then? Or-
It'd be split throughout the entire capital budget.
Well, for motion.
I have a motion by Lang, do I have a second? A second by Chu. Any further questions and or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, send us on full council, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. That motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Director.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Next item on the agenda is a request for appropriation for $803,278.80.
I thought David was gonna stay up here. Big numbers, you.
Yeah, you're the big money guy.
Good evening. So, these are for, the first one, did you say the 138,500? I'm sorry, I missed that.
Yeah, I did the total amount of 803,278.80.
Yeah, so these are for two separate loan documents. The 138,500 is for our UV project at the wastewater plant. This was a change, this was the final change order of that project. We're closing that project out, and these were some changes that were needed throughout the project. And this was just the final change amount. These are borrowed money, so this is just a memo expense. And then the 4th Street project on the 664, 778, 80 cents, same thing there. Somehow through Roger's transition to mine, we had missed 6 change orders. It's been since 2020 when that project started. So all the change orders that got approved through the OWDA financing of the loan, we had gotten approval there, but we didn't put the money into the budget from a memo expense standpoint. So it's really just crossing those T's and dotting those I's to get that money in our budget. So that's what both of those are for.
Okay.
Motion. Second.
Motion by Lang, second by Hauser. Questions and or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, send us on full council, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. That motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is a request for appropriation in the amount of $2,500.
Good evening, guys. This is $2,500 is going to be put into Janine's budget. Janine's retiring, so this will go towards the new hire for training.
Motion.
So
Second.
Motion by Lang, second by Hauser. Questions and or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, send us on full council, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. That motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is a request for appropriation, in the amount of $340.
Good evening. We recently had one of our medic units was struck by another motor vehicle. The driver of that vehicle wanted to pay for the repairs out of pocket, so they did that, so we're just requesting to get that money back into their vehicle maintenance fund.
Motion. Second.
Motion by Lang, second by Hauser. Questions and or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, send us on full council, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. That motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Greg. And that concludes the finance committee meeting. Next up is service.
We'll call the service committee meeting in order. Those present are myself, Rath, Neely, Claus, Lyon, and Shute. Up first, resolution 24-21. Resolution authorizing the conveyance of certain real property now owned by the city of Newark, Ohio, to Newark Development Partners as its agent for industrial, commercial, distribution, and research.
Thank
Mr.
you,
Rhodes.
thank you, Mr. Chair. If you're down East Main, 304 East Main is a very small piece of property that connects to a building that has been purchased and that is going to be redeveloped. There will be apartments upstairs as well as retail down below. But the new owner of the building would also like to buy this small little piece that the city came into through a bankruptcy or a foreclosure. So we worked with the law director's office to get this to Newark Development Partners. I met with the proposed new property owner today again with Fred Ernest, and Newark Development Partners is willing to receive it and sell it to them. That way he can have a parking lot beside his building and we get onto a nice development on East Main Street.
Yes.
3 apartments, 4 storefronts.
Questions from the audience? Motion by Lyon. Second by Claus. Questions from the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor of passing this on to council, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That vote will go through with a 5-0 vote.
Thank
That concludes the service committee for tonight. Next will be capital improvements.
Okay, I'll call this capital improvements committee meeting to order. President, myself, Chief, Rath, Marley, Neely, and Lewis.
Mr. Chair, once a year, we come before you and ask you to appropriate capital improvements dollars towards various departments within the city. This appropriation would be in regards to mowers and a couple other items for the cemetery. There is one item on here I'd like you to remove. It's the 3rd item down, the 7 trimmers. Councilman Marmy and I determined years ago that a trimmer is not a capital improvement expense. Should be just an ongoing budgeted expense because it's about yearly. So I'd ask that you remove that and we'll buy the trimmers out of general fund dollars. But with that, is give us the opportunity to buy a couple mowers and shoot for a 60-inch lawn. But that should be $27.99.93.
Motion by Marmy, second by Rath. Any other discussion, questions?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'm gonna make a motion to amend to remove those trimmers and also the dollar amounts and reduce the total dollar amount. So that's Director Rudy said.
Motion by Marmy, second by Rath. Any discussion about the motion to amend? All those in favor of amending, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. No, there's a motion on the floor. Any other discussion? Send this on to full council? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of sending this on to full council, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
thank you. So with that, capital improvement committee stands adjourned.
But that's just personnel.
That's okay. Okay, I'd like to call this meeting of the Personnel Committee to order. Those present are myself, Lang, Shute, Labutus, Cost, and Ryan. First up on the agenda, ordinance 2412, an ordinance setting the compensation with respect to certain elected officials of the city of Newark, Ohio. Terms beginning January 1, 2026 and January 1, 2028. Repealing all ordinances and resolutions in conflict therewith upon the effective.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We gathered, we met, we determined it's best to get this out there now. It puts it out there what these salaries will be. The treasurer's salary will be adjusted in 2026. The auditors, law directors, and mayors would be adjusted in 2028. That meets the spirit of council's ordinance, and we thought we would just get this out here now. And that way, anybody wanting to run for those positions know what the salaries will be.
Thank you, Director Rose. Comments or questions from the committee? Entertain motion. I'll take a motion. Motion by Labutus, second by Ryan. Any questions from the audience? Would come to the podium, state your name, address for the record.
Hi, Kevin Garwood, President of Newark Firefighters Local 109. I just have a couple of questions. One, how did they come up with the amounts for the wage package? And two, was there any cities or other positions used in that determination? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garwood. Director Rose, if you'd like to answer?
We came up with the numbers on positions similar to other adjustments that were made in the last year's contracts for other executive positions. We kind of kept that similar.
And so it looks to me, so there's a one-time adjustment for the 2028 salary.
That's correct.
Focusing mainly on the mayor, law director, and auditor. Then we can talk about the treasurer, but so it looks like there's a one-time adjustment for 2028, and then from there it's 444 for the rest of that term, consistent with what we're currently doing for the current term, right?
That's correct.
So I don't have the specific number. So what is the increase then from 2020? So what is the one-time adjustment end up being, you know?
About 19%.
About 19%. Thank you. And so then, on the auditor, on the treasurer side, I believe historically, we've always kind of tied that to OPER's minimum for retaining healthcare benefits long-term. Is that consistent with what we're doing with this adjustment?
This adjustment would exceed what OPER's does for the one time, but you gotta look at the treasurer's department, what they do. And they bring in the general fund of the city, they collect the money. And it's important to keep that salary moving ahead. So we have the best possible people that can run.
No.
I mean, we all, the whole city, because of guys on the general fund.
Sure. Any other comments from the questions from the committee? Any other further questions from the audience? Marmy?
Yeah, so this
You could-
week,
we'll come over there.
yeah,
You may have done this before, you have to state your name and.
yeah.
For the record.
317 South Thunder. Yeah, I just want to know, is this then repealing what we did for the treasurer as far as keeping that up, or will it just, because it won't, basically, it'll freeze any raises according to that for those 3 years after?
Right, so the treasurer, we haven't made any adjustment for the next term yet.
Okay,
So we would need to adjust it anyway.
well,
After,
it automatically does, according to the overage.
no, we did not adjust that. That was only for council.
I thought we did that with healthcare.
I don't think we did that with I don't think we did that with the treasurer. I don't think we touched the treasurer legislation.
Yeah, I double checked that, I'm pretty sure.
Well, if we could, well, let's go double check that, and if we need to fix it before it goes through council, we can. I think to Mr. Marvin's point, we want to make sure we fix it long term, so at the end of that term, then we'd still need to be adjusting the treasurer's position. It being somewhat of an outlier with the rest of the positions, because it's on a different term, but it's the only one that's not council on that cycle, so. All right, any other comments or questions? Okay, with that, we'll put this to a vote to send this on to full council. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign? Nay. So that passes by a vote of 4-1. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay, next up, we have ordinance 24-13, an ordinance amending the position classification pay range and department authorization tables of the city of Newark. Department of Public Service, Division of Water Administration by the classification of accountant clerk, part-time, and setting the compensation therefore. Mr. Burgess.
Good evening, Mr. Chair. The piece before you, Brandon's had a chance to review his operation. He's trying to do some succession planning. We're adding some duties to the account clerk part-time, and simply taking from a 31 to a 33. So it's a very simple piece, add some duties, additional compensation that brings him in line with every other account clerk. It's been a professional philosophy of mine that what's the separation of same duties regardless of the hours you work. The particulars are in the position description at the bottom. They're italicized and underlined. We've added. And certainly invite Brandon if you have any more depth of the conversation.
Have anything to add?
Unless you have questions.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Spurgeon, what's the total cost here to the budget?
We'll say about $1,400 annual.
Any questions? Thank you, Mr. Labutus. The motion by Labutus, second by Ryan. Any other questions or comments from the committee? Questions or comments from the audience? Okay, with that, we'll put this to a vote to send on the full council. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. It's 5-0, that will go on to full council.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
That, the personnel committee stands adjourned, and I believe that's it for committees. Council will start at 7 o'clock. Yeah.